Welcome to InTrend, an insurance podcast where we explore trends and insights shaping today's insurance industry. In this episode, we're diving into subrogation, an often overlooked but critical part of the claims process that can drive meaningful recoveries and better outcomes for both insurers and insureds. From identifying opportunities to navigating real-world challenges, we'll take a closer look at why subrogation matters more than ever. Joining us today is Caitlyn Kennedy Niedelman, Subrogation Team Captain, who brings over 18 years of industry experience. Since forming the Subrogation Team in 2020, she has helped increase net recoveries by 120% while also transforming the process into a more humanizing and customer-focused experience. Let's dive in. Hi, Caitlyn. Thank you so much for joining us on InTrend to discuss a carrier's pursuit of subrogation.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here today.
So, many of our listeners may have heard the term subrogation, but may not know exactly what it means. So, can you tell us what is subrogation?
Sure. So, subrogation is the legal right for an insurance carrier to step in their insured's shoes and pursue an at-fault party for recovery of the claim payout. And just to give you a quick example, in case that's still a little unclear, if you think about a car accident, say that you are at a stop sign and someone rear ends you and causes damage to your car. Well, you would put the claim in through your own insurance carrier. They're able to pay you out quickly, get you a rental car if you need it, and then you're done with the claim. On the back end, your insurance carrier will go to the other driver's insurance company and seek reimbursement for the damages that they paid to you on their behalf. And then if they're able to be successful, they'll reimburse you your deductible. So it's really nice for the insured because you don't have any of the burden of pursuing the at-fault party, and then you get your deductible back in the end.
That explanation makes so much sense. So getting specific for a moment, what has your experience been with subrogation?
Yeah, so I've had a great journey in subrogation. In a previous life, I was a claims adjuster, and then before I came to USLI, and then about 6 years ago, our company decided to form an in-house subrogation team, and I was asked to lead those efforts. Prior to having an in-house team, the property examiners were solely responsible for pursuing subrogation, which was a lot of responsibility, especially because they're inundated with, insured's phone calls and adjusting the claims. Additionally, we were sending out our more complex claims to a third-party vendor, and they were taking a significant portion of the net recovery as a fee. So once we kind of looked at that process, we thought that we could do it better. And so we created the in-house team. And there are two of us that currently handle all of the subrogation for our company. And not only are we saving on that fee that we were paying, but we're able to really provide a great customer service experience to our policyholders by humanizing the claims experience. And then also they have one point of contact, and we're able to walk them through the process and answer any questions that they may have. So overall, it's really a much better experience.
Sounds like it's been a great journey so far for you.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, why do you think there is such a focus on subrogation over the last several years?
Yeah, so I think with rising claim costs and catastrophe claim payouts, carriers are really looking for a way to bring in some additional revenue, and subrogation is the way to do that. So I think that carriers realized that there was a lot of missed opportunity, and now they're just giving more focus to pursuing subrogation aggressively and early on. Um, yeah, I think that's basically it.
So, what does a subrogation matter look like from start to finish?
Yes, so it's really important in subrogation to get involved at the first notice of claim. This is important because subrogation is based on evidence and facts, and we need to make sure that we're getting the right people out to investigate the scene. For instance, if it's a fire loss, we want to get a fire origin and cause investigator out there within a day or two of the fire. That way, they can document the scene, they can collect evidence, and then they complete a scientific investigation to determine the cause of the fire. Going with the fire example, if we think that that fire was caused by an electrical malfunction, then we will also want to get an electrical engineer out to that scene to further investigate the cause and really pinpoint exactly what happened. Once we complete our investigation, we identify any potential third parties that may be involved in the cause of the loss. So in that electrical case, we would be putting the electrician on notice. And if they were contracted with a general contractor, perhaps that general contractor as well. So we provide notices of subrogation to those parties and their insurance carriers. And then we kind of wait until the first party claim is completely adjusted and all the payments have been completed. Once the payments are complete, we send a demand package to the other carrier with our supporting documentation and evidence and photos and our theory of liability. And then the negotiations commence. In an ideal world, it's very clear cut and everyone agrees, and we get 100% of what we're asking for. Unfortunately, that's not often the case. So we do end up usually going to mediation, arbitration, or even litigation to settle those matters. And then once a settlement is reached, that's the part or portion where we can reimburse the insured's deductible.
So I think you alluded to in there are some obstacles to subrogation efforts. What can you explain those in a little bit more detail?
Yes. So the first obstacle is liability. Like I said, it has to be based on facts, not feelings, and it really is evidence based. That's why it's so critical for us to get out there as soon as a loss happens and maintain the scene and document everything so that we have those supports for our theories of liability. The second obstacle are state laws. Every state is super specific and nuanced in regards to subrogation. For instance, some states recognize the Sutton Rule, which is a rule that says that landlord insurance carriers cannot pursue tenants for subrogation regardless of the cause. So even if you have an accidental cooking fire by a tenant, we are not able to pursue them for those damages. Some states that recognize that are Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Minnesota. Another situation with the states is statute of limitations. That just means that every state has a certain time period in which you can file a claim for recovery. So you need to be mindful of your timelines because some states it's as soon as 1 year and some go up to 10 years. So you just want to make sure that you're able to exercise those rights should you decide to pursue subrogation. And then finally, we run into issues with contractual obligations. These are usually waivers of subrogation or indemnification clauses, which simply mean that there's contract language that prevents the insurer from pursuing subrogation on behalf of their insureds. We mostly see these in HOA and condo bylaws, as well as construction contracts and commercial leases.
Okay. So let's say we get to the end of a subrogation matter and the carrier gets an award in their favor. How difficult is it to collect?
It can be difficult. So, first and foremost, again, we go back to that liability. You know, Usually it is debated, so it can take some time to work through that, especially if litigation is involved. And then it can be difficult and or impossible if the at-fault party does not have insurance. So when we know that an at-fault party doesn't have insurance, we will run an asset and background check on them to see if they have anything where we can pursue a judgment or even set up a payment plan. I actually have some claims where I'm collecting, say, $20 a month to satisfy an indemnity payment. And as long as those collections come in every month, then they're, doing their part. So, yeah,
That's really interesting.
yeah.
Caitlin, do you see certain lines of insurance having better subro potential?
Yes. So technically, every line in property casualty that has an at fault party has subrogation potential, but we do see more success in the auto industry. I think that's primarily because auto claims are pretty clear cut, the liability, and most people have insurance. So, definitely the higher percentage of subrogation success is in auto. We also see a lot of success in property claims. So, homeowners, commercial, fires, explosions, water losses. Again, those are a little bit easier to determine liability and investigate as long as you're getting in there early. In general liability, we're not necessarily pursuing subrogation, but we will pursue defense costs or a tendered indemnity claim. So yeah, you can really see it across multiple lines in the industry.
Sticking, sort of within that theme, are there departments within the carrier that may either get involved in the subro efforts or may benefit from the information learned within those efforts?
Absolutely. So we work very closely with our underwriting departments. For instance, during our investigations, we may see that something has changed at a risk that they need to be aware of, or we may see trends, that we can make them aware of that can really help them revise the underwriting guidelines and kind of make better decisions on the underwriting side. Actuarial benefits from our subrogation data, especially when they're making determinations on rates and rate increases. And then we work very closely with the SIU, which is the Special Investigation Unit within the claims department. Sometimes our investigation can uncover potential fraud, and then they're able to look into that. And that really helps us prevent from making improper payouts to the wrong people.
So it sounds like the subrogation team is getting assistance from other areas as well. So what can agents and or brokers do to assist in these efforts?
Yeah, so brokers and agents really play a supportive role in the subrogation process. The best thing they can do is make sure that they're reporting claims promptly and correctly, and then kind of briefing the policyholder when they report that claim on just the entire claim process. So they're setting expectations. They can advise the policyholder to start collecting documentation, bills, correspondence, and then just cooperating with the claim investigation.
What about the policyholder? What can they do to assist in the subrogation efforts, or maybe what benefits would the policyholder see? I know you alluded earlier to maybe recovering their deductible.
Yes, absolutely. So the policyholders play an important role in the subrogation process. As I said previously, we make sure to humanize the experience for them. So I always provide my information and I'm happy to answer any questions that they may have or help explain anything that might be unclear. They assist greatly in gathering evidence. So, not only allowing us to go in and inspect the scene and do our investigation, but collecting documentation, correspondence, filing a police report or a fire report. So, we have that official record. Those things really help us out in the long run. And then the benefits for the policyholder really helps to get them buy into the process. So in addition to reimbursing their deductible, successful subrogation helps us keep their policy premiums flat and not increased. And then in some states, we are able to really assist with out of pocket expenses that might not be covered under the claim policy. So, for instance, some states recognize what's called the made whole doctrine. And that just simply means that the insured must be reimbursed 100% before the insurance carrier can collect the first dollar. This is a huge benefit to policyholders. For instance, I had a claim in Texas, and Texas is a made whole state where a vehicle ran into our commercial building. The vehicle caused significant damage to the building, and it was closed for months while we were doing the repairs. Fortunately, we were able to pay for the building damages under our insurance policy, but our insured did not have business income coverage. So that means they didn't have coverage to pay for the time that the business was closed to make the repairs. And they ended up having an out-of-pocket expense of $150,000, which is really significant. We were able to identify the at-fault driver, and we pursued subrogation against their carrier. The at-fault driver only had $50,000 limits on their insurance policy. So when we recovered that limit of $50,000, because Texas was a made whole state, that whole $50,000 went to our policyholder to help with their out-of-pocket expenses. So as you can see in that example, we handled the subrogation, we pursued it, we worked the entire process, but the recovery went to the insured. So it's really a huge benefit for our insureds to be engaged and buy into the process. And subrogation really can turn out to be much more beneficial for them than even for us. So, yeah.
Sounds like a great result, not only for the carrier, but for the policyholder as well.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like that will also help to maintain that business with that policyholder.
Yes, for sure.
Do you have any other claims examples you can share with us?
Yeah, so while I can't share specific details because it's confidential, I had a large fire loss claim where we had a commercial building that sat next to a vacant lot. The lot was unsecured, and there was a history of vagrant activity in that lot. Unfortunately, a situation happened where a large fire was started in the lot, and it spread to our building, and our building was a total loss. It was a very large loss. We ended up paying out the full limit on that claim, and we pursued the owner of the vacant lot for subrogation. The owner claimed to not have any knowledge of the vagrant activity, and we were able to complete an investigation that included not only a fire investigation into the cause, which revealed that vagrants set a warming fire in the lot that grew out of control, but we were also able to get witness statements and pull police records that showed that there was a long history of issues in that lot. So the owner obviously was aware of the situation, and we felt very confident in pursuing that claim. We did engage subrogation counsel because we had a feeling we'd have to litigate the matter, and we received an early settlement offer that was very low. We rejected that offer because we were confident that we had a strong case, and we ended up litigating that claim for 2 years. We were finally able to reach an agreement and recover 85% of what we paid out, which is a huge win. And we were able to reimburse the deductible to the insured. So overall, it was a really great win for us and for our policyholder.
That's another great example of how, these subrogation efforts are really, helping carriers, helping policyholders, with respect to their claims.
Yes.
So where do you see subrogation, let's say in the next 5 years?
I think it'll continue to grow. I think it's an exciting kind of trending thing right now in the industry. I think carriers, back to our initial conversation, are realizing that there's missed opportunity and that it can be a way to bring in revenue in the claims department, and it really affects the combined ratio. It also provides a lot of benefits to the insured, so it's kind of a win-win. And I think that with other trends in the industry, that AI may be able to help us handle more of the mundane everyday tasks like data entry and collection. And perhaps it'll even be able to help us forecast the recovery potential on a claim so we really know where to allocate our resources. So I think it'll continue in an upward swing.
This is wonderful. Do you have any final thoughts to share with our listeners?
Yeah, so I think that subrogation can be a huge benefit, not only for the carrier, but for the policyholder. Again, it allows us to reimburse deductibles. It helps with out-of-pocket expenses for the policyholder and keeps premiums steady. In the industry, it promotes fairness and accountability for those at-fault parties. And for insurance carriers, it really helps towards the combined ratio and helps bring in revenue.
Well, Caitlyn, I want to thank you for your time today. This has been really informative, and I want to thank our listeners for tuning in. Hope to see you on the next installment of InTrend.